Okay, today we're going to look at Lesson 12, and your I can statement or learning objective is I can factor and solve the sum or difference of cubes. So today's a little bit different. We're still factoring, we're still solving. We're going to have to think back to some stuff that we did earlier in the last unit when we solved quadratics by using the quadratic formula. And I'm just going to be really honest. It's going to look kind of scary, but it's really not that bad. It might take you a little longer to do one problem than you would like it to, but it's okay. Your assignment is not very long. It's just 9 problems, and some of them are multiple choice, so hopefully it's not going to be bad. So just take that disclaimer. It might look a little rough, but it's okay. It's not that bad, and you'll have plenty of time to work on it. So don't stress. And if you need help, as always, I'm here to help you. That's my job. So if you need something, let me know. I am going to go faster in the video than I would in person, so keep that in mind. You can pause and rewind as you need to, but I do ask that you write these notes down and you work through the examples with me so that you can use that when you do your work in Math Excel. So first we need to know what we're talking about when we're talking about a cube. So when something is cubed, it's raised to the 3rd power. So 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2. It's that base multiplied 3 times. And 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. X cubed is x times x times x. So that's what we're thinking about here. So before you did the sum and difference of squares, remember you had stuff like x squared minus 4, or you did the difference of squares. So you had like x squared minus 4 or 25x squared minus 81, stuff like that, and then you factored, okay? So we're kind of thinking along those lines, except we're thinking of cubes, and our shortcut is a little bit different, okay? But to get us started, I know that you probably don't have the cubes memorized like you might have some of the squares memorized. So we'll start there. Okay, so 1 cubed is 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. 2 cubed is 8, 3 cubed is 27, 4 cubed is 64, 5 cubed is 125. You see those a lot. You see them a lot more often than some others. So if you get those memorized, you're in good shape. But I know that you're going to see some larger numbers, and you're not going to know what number multiplied by itself 3 times gives you that number. So this is how you can figure it out. Just like we know 2 squared equals 4, and then we can take the square root of 4, and that's 2. Those are inverse operations. We can do the same with cubed roots. So 2 cubed is 8, and if we take the 2 cubed is 8, and if we take the cubed root of 8, we get 2. Okay, now I will show you how to do that in your calculator. It's really easy. So to get the cubed root in your calculator, if you're using the TI Inspire, you hit Control, the Control button, and the caret button. Okay, that's next to x squared. And it gives you a little box in the root and then a big box under it, and you can just fill in the numbers there. If you're using the Desmos Calculator, that's desmos.com/calculator. You have to open up that full keyboard, and then you're going to hit the Functions button, and then the Miscellaneous button, and then you'll see an option that's the nth root. And so you'll just click that option and plug a 3 in that little box for n. Okay, and then if you're using that calculator on your Chromebook, that TI-84, you should have a math button. And if you click that, then number 4 should give you the cubed root, like that. So you can choose that button on your Chromebook calculator and that TI-84, and it gives you the cubed root, and you just fill the number in. So if you see a number and you don't know its cubed root right off the top of your head, then you can use your calculator. Just pick one, whichever one you're going to use. TI Nspire is obviously the one that you're going to use on the ACT, but these others are fine options. Okay, now we're going to look at the rules or the formulas for the sum or difference of cubes. So if you're given the sum of two cubes, so a cubed plus b cubed, then you can factor it, or the shortcut to factoring it is a plus b, so whatever a is plus b, and then you have a quadratic, so a squared minus ab plus b squared. So when we look at some examples, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what we're given, we're going to identify a and identify b, and then we're just going to plug them in, okay? And then for subtraction, if you have a cubed minus b cubed, the first quantity is a minus b, and then it's a squared plus ab plus b squared. That's very, very similar to our shortcut for squaring a binomial, okay? It should look similar to you. But like I said, this is a little bit different. Now, if you don't want to memorize both of these, you can memorize one. And a shortcut that can help you remember the signs is addition is plus minus plus, and subtraction is minus plus plus. So, and that's because in the middle, when you do a negative times negative, it makes a positive. So that's why that works here, okay? So, addition in your factors, if you can remember the a squared, b squared, your signs are just plus, minus, plus, and if it's subtraction, it's minus, plus, plus. There can only be one minus, and it's either in the middle or the beginning, okay? So hopefully that's helpful, but you at least need to memorize one and then know what to do with the signs. Okay. Now, we're going to have two different types of problems today. Some of your problems are just going to ask you to factor. If it says factor, you're leaving it in the parentheses. You're breaking it up like this, plugging in that a and b, and you're done. Some of them say solve. If it says solve, then you're going to set each of your factors equal to 0 and solve. And to do that with that big quadratic expression, you're going to have to use the quadratic formula every time because it's not going to be factorable. So the first one, it'll be that little simple factor, set equal to 0 and solve, and then that second one is going to be quadratic formula. Okay, so we're going to do some examples. We're going to start with some examples that just ask you to factor, okay, and we'll start easy. So we're going to use that a and b. So x cubed and 8. So I'm going to identify my a and my b. So my a is x, because that's what's being cubed on that first one. Now, what's the cubed root of 8? We wrote that down at the beginning. So the cubed root of 8 is 2, okay? And so I'm writing that middle part there just to show you what we did. So a is x, because that's what's being cubed. B is 2, because that's what's being cubed. Now, we're going to use our little formula. So it should be a plus b in one quantity. The other quantity is a squared minus ab plus b squared. Okay, so we're just going to plug those pieces in where they go. So a plus b would be x plus 2. All right, a squared minus ab plus b squared. So a squared would be x squared minus ab. So minus x times 2, we'll just say that's minus 2x. And then b squared, so 2 squared is 4. And that's it. You're finished. Okay, so all we did was identify a, identify b, plug them in to the formula, and you're done. Okay, here's number 2, 64x cubed minus 125. We're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to identify a and b. So the cubed root of 64x cubed is going to be 4x. So the cubed root of 64 is 4. The cubed root of x cubed, those cancel out and you just have x. And just like up here, x cubed, the a is x. All right, so a is 4x. B, we need the cubed root of 125, and that is 5. So my a is 4x and my b is 5. Now, you do not have to write this middle part in. I'm just showing you that's where I got those things. All right, so now my formula, a minus b, because it's subtraction, and then a squared plus ab plus b squared. Okay? If you want to pause the video and try this on your own, you're more than welcome to do so, and then check your answers with me. So a minus b is 4x minus 5, and then in parentheses, so 4x squared is 16x squared, plus ab, 4x times 5 is 20x, and then b squared, so 5 squared is 25. Okay, how are we doing so far? Hopefully not too bad. Okay, number 3, we have 512x cubed minus 343y cubed. So pause the video, give that one a try, see what you think. All right, let's see. So for A, what's the cubed root of 512? You might have to do that in your calculator, and if you do, that's perfectly fine. The cubed root of 512 is 8. So that's A is 8x. B, the cubed root of 343 is 7. So that's 7. And this time we have a y, so we're just going to tag that y along. So A is 8x. B is 7y. We're just going to plug it into the formula. It's subtraction. So we're going to do A minus B, and then A squared plus AB plus B squared. All right, so 8x minus 7y, and then 64x squared plus 56xy plus 49y squared. Okay, so that's factoring. Again, identify A, identify B, plug it into the formulas. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to go to solving. Okay, so to solve, we're going to start the same way. We have x cubed plus 27. I took the numbers back down smaller just to make it a little bit easier on us to start with. So we're going to identify A and B. So my A is x, my B, the cubed root of 27 is 3. All right, I'm going to plug that in. So x plus 3, and then x squared plus, or minus, sorry, I got carried away there, minus, there we go, minus 3x plus 9, because 3 squared is 9. All right, now I'm going to have to solve these. So if I set x plus 3, or I set them equal to 0, x plus 3 equals 0, x is negative 3. Now for this one, I have to do the quadratic formula. You might want to make a note. You have to do the quadratic formula, okay? These are not factorable. If you try to factor it, you're not going to get anywhere, okay? There are not two factors of 9 that add to give you negative 3. It just doesn't work. So to do the quadratic formula, we're going to identify A, B, and C. So your A is 1, B is negative 3, and C is 9. That quadratic formula is negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. So we're going to use that formula. And if you remember back to the quadratic formula, you can have real answers, you can have imaginary answers, you can have pretty rational answers, you could have some irrational answers with some radicals and some square roots that you have to simplify. And there's a lot of different pieces. But this builds right onto what we were doing with quadratics. Okay? So let's plug our numbers into the formula. So the opposite of B, so that's 3 plus or minus the square root of B squared, so that's negative 3 squared minus 4 times A times C, all over 2 times A, which is 1. All right, so that gives me 3 plus or minus. Now, this I'm doing in the calculator. You can do it by hand if you want to, but I'm just going to do it in the calculator because I think that's easiest. So I'm going to show you. So take your radical, I'm going to do parentheses, negative 3 squared, and then go over minus 4 times 1 times 9. Hit enter, I get negative 33. Oh, and do you see what I did? I'm glad that I made this mistake because it happens really, really often. I accidentally arrowed out of my radical, and so that messed me up. So I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to type it down here again. All right. Oh well. Sorry, guys. I'll just type it in again. So parentheses -3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. There you go. Make sure it stays under there. Oh, non-real. I didn't think about that. Forgive me. You're going to have to do it part by hand. I wasn't even thinking about that. Hopefully, if we were in person, you all would have caught that before I did that work. I wasn't even thinking. So that's 9 minus 4 times 9. And that does give us all over 2. So it's 3 plus or minus -27 all over 2. So now we're going to have to break up this radical. So we know that we have to pull out an I. So 3 plus or minus I. And I'm going to take the square root of 27. I know that 9 goes into 27 and it's a perfect square. So I'm going to bring that out and get 3 square root of 3. So 3I square root of 3. So I'm going to put all my answers together. So x equals -3, comma, 3 plus or minus 3I square root of 3 all over 2. All right. Now, your problems like this in Math Excel are going to be multiple choice. So you don't have to worry about typing those in correctly. You can just find the answer that matches. Now, Math Excel will have these separated. So you'll have a 3 plus 3I square root of 3 over 2, and you'll have a 3 minus 3I over square root of 2. So just note that there are 3 different solutions here, -3, the positive, and the negative. Okay? So that was a lot of work to get this answer. And so when I said earlier that these problems look kind of scary, this is why. You've got to do quite a bit of work, and depending on how nice your radical is, it may require a little bit more work. So this is going back. It's taking a lot of things that we've done before and putting them together. And that's what makes it a little more difficult. But I have confidence in you. I think that you're going to be fine. But we will do a couple more examples, at least one more example together. And then I can always do more with you if you're unsure or you need more. Okay, number 5 is r cubed minus 512. So we're going to do the same thing as before. Identify A, identify B. So A is r, B is 8. Let's plug in into our formula. So r minus 8, and then r squared plus 8r plus 64. Okay, set this one equal to 0 and solve really easily. It's just r equals 8. And then we need the quadratic formula. So my A is 1, my B is 8, and my C is 64. Okay, so negative B plus or minus the square root B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. All right, my B is 8, so that's -8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 64. And again, we're going to get that imaginary number because we're going to have a negative under there. So like my mistake earlier, don't type the whole thing in the calculator. You can type it in pieces, but you can't do the whole thing. Or you can type just the 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 64 in the calculator. And I think that's what I did when I was doing these on my own, and I just wasn't thinking and put the radical. So I'll show you that. You can just do 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 64 and get that number. So we got a negative 192. So that's -8 plus or minus. And I just realized up here I forgot to put it equal to 0. Sorry, to make this mathematically possible. All right, so we have -192 in the radical all over 2. All right, so we're going to take, the first thing I'm going to do I'm going to leave this stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and bring out the I because I know I'm going to have one. And I'm just going to take this 192. I'm going to factor it. I'm just going to do a factor tree because I don't know what this simplifies to right off the top of my head. I'm going to try a 4. Okay, so I get 4 and 48. So those are easier to break down. So that's 2 times 2. 48 is 4 times 12. And then that's 2 times 2. And 12 is 4 times 3. And that breaks down to another 2 times 2. So we're looking for pairs here. Let's see. Yeah. So 2, 2, and 2. So that's 2 times 2 times 2. Oh, we've just been talking about that. We know, we know 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And so that we bring down the 3. So it's going to be 8i square root of 3. Now, we have even numbers on top. We can divide those by 2. So I'm going to pull out a 2 on the top. So I have negative 4 plus or minus 4i square root of 3. That's all over 2. Those 2's divide out. And so I'm left with negative 4 plus or minus 4i square root of 3. And for my solutions, I have r equals 8. And then negative 4 plus or minus 4i square root of 3. And there we go. So again, I know that's a lot of work for 3 little answers there. But in Math Excel, there are multiple choice. So you might be able to, it just depends on how the problems are. If you find the R equals 8, you solve that first one. You might not even have to do the rest of this to get to the second part of the answer. So you might not even have to do this much work. It just depends on what Math Excel throws at you. Okay, now my main goal for you is to be able to factor. You need to know how to solve too, but factoring is the main thing. If you factor these, then you should at least be able to find that first part of the solution, and then hopefully Math Excel is nice to you and you can figure out your answer based on that because of the multiple choice. Okay, so that's all of the examples that I'm going to do with you as a group. If you want more examples, you are welcome to hop back in the Google Meet and ask me for some. I would be happy to work out more with you. Or I can, if you send me an email or something like that, I can work some out and send you separate little videos for whatever you need. Or if you have trouble on a specific Math Excel problem, hit Ask My Instructor, send me an email, ask me about it. I'm in the Google Meet, and I'll help you out. But I hope your Math Excel isn't too bad. It's just 9 problems. And if you need me, I'm here. Have a great rest of the day.